So, you've got the dream. You want to be a pilot. Well, you've come to the right place. We're about to break down one of the very first and most important decisions you're going to make on this journey, choosing between Part 61 and Part 141 flight training. This choice really sets the stage for everything that follows, so let's get right into it. You're ready to go, ready to get in the air, but how are you going to get there? Which path do you take? And trust me, this isn't just some boring technical detail. This is your first real command decision, and it's going to shape your whole training experience. All right, so your first big decision boils down to two different sets of rules laid out by the FAA. But here is the single most important thing to remember right from the start. Both Part 61 and Part 141, they both get you to the exact same place, a pilot's license. So what's the real difference when you boil it all down? Well, think of it like this. Part 141 is like a formal university program. It's got a strict, step-by-step curriculum that the FAA has already approved. On the flip side, Part 61 is more like getting a private tutor. It's way more personalized, and your instructor can tailor every lesson just for you. So that's the big idea right there, structure versus flexibility. Now let's dig in and see how that actually feels day to day when you're the one in the cockpit. It really is a tale of two completely different training styles. Let's kick things off with Part 141. This is the highly organized route. You're training at an FAA-certified school, and you have to follow their official mandatory syllabus to the letter. You know, because of all that oversight, these places really feel like a professional aviation academy, mixing ground school and flight training into one seamless program. And the process for Part 141 is super rigid, super sequential. You learn everything for a specific stage, then you prove to your instructor that you've got it down, and then, and this is a big one, you have to pass a formal stage check with a totally different examiner. You can't move on till you pass. There's no skipping ahead, no jumping around. Okay, so that's one way. Now let's flip the coin and look at Part 61. This is the more, let's say, traditional way of doing things. It's all based on meeting the FAA's minimums, sure, but it gives your flight instructor a ton of freedom to customize the lessons to fit your specific goals, your learning style, and your schedule. And this quote from Chief Flight Instructor Ray Altman perfectly explains the real-world advantage of that flexibility. I mean, just imagine this. You're all set for your first solo flight, a huge day, but the weather is just terrible all week. In a Part 141 program, you might just be stuck, waiting. But with Part 61, your instructor can just pivot. You can work on something else, maybe something further down the line, and then come back to the solo when the skies are clear. No time wasted. Okay, so we get the vibe of each program, right? One's a strict school, the other's a flexible mentor. Now, let's get down to brass tacks. Let's talk numbers and see how these different approaches actually compare on paper. When it comes to the numbers, one really stands out, and that number is 60. 60 hours. That is the difference in the minimum flight time you need to get your commercial pilot certificate. And in an airplane, 60 hours is a lot of time. So here's how it breaks down. If you go the Part 61 route, the FAA says you need at least 250 flight hours for a commercial license. But because those Part 141 programs are so structured and closely watched by the FAA, they basically get a seal of approval for efficiency. The FAA trusts their process, so they let pilots qualify with just 190 hours. So we've seen the structure, we've seen the numbers. Now we get to the most important part of all, figuring out which flight plan is right for you. This is where you really need to think about your life, your goals, what you want out of this whole thing. So, who's the perfect candidate for Part 141? Well, it's definitely for those of you aiming for the airlines and you want the fastest, most direct path to get there. It's also great if you're the kind of person who just loves a structured step-by-step plan. And for some folks, it's not even a choice. It's pretty much required for international students who need a visa. And it's usually the way to go if you're using VA benefits. But what if that doesn't sound like you? Well, that's where Part 61 shines. It's a fantastic fit if you're a hobbyist, just flying for the pure joy of it. Or maybe you're a busy professional, trying to squeeze lessons in on weekends. This is your path. It's perfect for career changers who need to go at their own pace. Or really for anyone who just prefers that customized one-on-one approach. Look, let's make it super simple. Here's a quick cheat sheet. Your goal is to become an airline pilot, fast. Part 141 is probably your answer. You just want to fly for fun? Part 61 fits your life. Are you an international student? You're looking at Part 141. Trying to do this while holding down a full-time job? That flexibility from Part 61 is going to be your best friend. So, after all this talk about structure and hours and flexibility, What's the bottom line? What's the final takeaway here? It's this. You get the same license, you're just taking a different journey to get there. And this is maybe the most important point of the entire conversation. Once you have that pilot's license in your hand, employers don't care. Airlines, cargo operators, charter companies, they don't see a difference between a Part 61 and a Part 141 pilot. You know why? Because what really matters isn't the syllabus you followed. It's how well you can fly the plane. It's your skill, your proficiency, the experience you've built, and whether you can meet the qualifications for the job. That's it. That's the measure of a pilot. Which brings it all back to you. As you get ready to start this amazing journey, you've got a choice. What kind of co-pilot do you want for your training? The clear step-by-step guidance of a rigid syllabus, or the freedom and adaptability of a flexible schedule? The sky is waiting. The choice is yours.